My name is Carrie Lake. I'm running for governor of Arizona. I'm so honored to be here with all of these patriots, all of you. I'm Trump endorsed, and I'm ready to make Arizona great again.
Yeah. Carrie, 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 Carrie. Oh, I gotta follow her.
Hi, my name is Mark Fincham. I am the Trump-endorsed candidate for Secretary of State.
Yeah. Mark, no? No?
Mark.
Senator Wendy Rogers, Trump endorsed, running for re-election, Legislative District 7.
Representative Leo Biasucci, Majority Whip in the Arizona House. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you all.
So real quick, all other candidates, any of the other elected officials, stand up real quick, and I'm gonna hand a mic. We're gonna work right down. Okay?
Good evening. My name is Karen Werner, and I'm running for Scottsdale School Board.
My name is Darren Mitchell. I am running for the Arizona House of Representatives in LD3, Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Cave Creek, all in North Phoenix. Thank you.
My name is Janae Shamp. That's like shampoo without the O's. I'm an operating room nurse. I'm a constitutional conservative, and I'm a citizen getting in the fight to save our country, starting right here at home in Arizona. I am running for the Arizona State Senate LD 29 on the west side with Mr. Kern.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ann Mendoza, running for House Representative in LD9, which is West Mesa. I'm proud to stand up and represent my constituents in Mesa. It's time we take our state back. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gail Golick. I am running for Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Oh, yeah. I'm ready to take our country back. Amen.
Hey, everyone. My name is James Knox. Government starts at your front door, and that's why I'm running for Queen Creek School Board.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Black, and I'm running for House of Representatives in LD 28. I'm your conservative Christian. And I am doing my part to drain the swamp.
Hi, my name is Pamela Carter, and I'm running for Scottsdale City Council to kick those liberals out of Scottsdale.
Hi, I'm Anna Orth, and I'm running for Arizona House of Representatives in LD 17 because we need conservatives and Arizona First candidates in Pima County, too.
Hi, my name is Steve Zipperman. I am running for the State Senate in Legislative District 1, which is Yavapai County and Sedona. I'm a constitutional conservative. Let's get the power back to the people where it belongs.
Hello, I'm Beverly Pingarelli. I'm running for re-election in LD 28. Thank you.
I know my son always wants to talk. You want to say something real quick?
Let's go, Brandon.
I should have known better. But I love hearing it. So we're going to get started right into Jovan Pulitzer's presentation here. It's going to blow your socks off. Wait till you see what's happening here. And then we're going to have a discussion afterwards, okay? So 45-minute presentation. Here we go.
Great ideas are brought to life by great thinkers. One such thinker, Jovan Pulitzer, has contributed over 500 patents to our technological world. The United States Patent Office shows that as many as 40 new inventions have stemmed from each of his pioneering patents. Today, built upon his incredible success, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer innovates in the areas of virtual and augmented reality, data analytics and global data platforms, nanoanalytics, healthcare systems, mobile streaming communications, as well as monetization technologies. Some of his groundbreaking innovations are right in front of you every single day. A barcode has long been just a bunch of lines on the bottom of a box of cereal. But today, every product, article of commerce, and even people have a unique identifiable code. Everything in the world has become interconnected, and like magic, we can use our device's camera to read barcodes and unique QR codes. A now ubiquitous technology that Jovan ideated and patented. For a long time, software was purchased on floppy disks and CDs, and it was a hassle when there was an update to install. Today's devices know when there is an update available, and then automatically take care of that behind the scenes for us. Another one of Jovan's patents that we take for granted every day. Several years ago, viewing the same website from a computer to a laptop to a mobile device always seemed to make it look wonky and broken. Thanks to one of Jovan's patented ideas, websites fit perfectly to the screen you're looking at. That's what we call responsive design. We all remember when taking a toll road meant digging around your car for loose change to pay the attendant. What a traffic jam. These days, manned toll booths are a rarity. A tag in our vehicles linked to our credit card automates the payment process. Our inventor Jovan Pulitzer innovated the device that lives in your car and the system to capture and process that message.
In order to pioneer the concept of a full forensic audit for use in Maricopa County, Arizona, our team had to develop 25 different auditing and forensic technology programs and techniques which had never existed before. We call this new technology platform kinematic artifact detection. Kinematic simply means the motion and physical evidence trail of the physical attributes of an election, such as the original physical ballot voted, but also every aspect of that ballot, from the manufacturing of the ballot paper to printing the ballot, to folding, sorting, and mailing the ballot, and following it all the way through the mailing process, the return process, the election handling process, and eventual scanning, tallying, and election recording of the votes, and reporting the final outcome. We do this down to the individual precinct level. Our technology utilizes computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence systems to conduct a full forensic audit of an election and then report our findings. In the most basic reporting terms, in order to understand and to do a deep forensic audit of the Maricopa County, Arizona general election in 2020, we had to process over 20,895,610 digital and forensic images in multiple formats. We created in excess of 208 million individual evidence proof files. Our systems conducted a base measurement process of over 58 billion forensic measurements and generated over 2 trillion individual base computations. Our finds will be presented in part since we are still deep in an ongoing forensic investigation of the 2020 general election in Maricopa County, Arizona. But this has led us to the initial conclusion of the 2020 general election in Maricopa was not certifiable in any manner. There was gross maladministration of the most egregious, neglectful manner. Not one single aspect of the election could be verified to have been operated according to the exact election rules, standards, and compliance procedures. There were hundreds of thousands of 14th Amendment violations and civil rights violations. There were hundreds of thousands of illegal votes. And at no time was the final outcome, as reported repeatedly in the media or by Maricopa County officials themselves in 2020, ever real, truthful, provable, transparent, and most of all, certifiable. There is sufficient and irrefutable evidence of pervasive voter fraud and widespread systemic election fraud in Maricopa County, Arizona. This is our cyber report, which discovered there is a predetermined algorithm running on the machines in Maricopa. Approximately 406,972 individual ballots were cast of a predetermined nature and inserted into the 2020 general election. Approximately 406,972 ballots, which were cast in Maricopa County, were of a predetermined origin in order to forcefully manage the outcome of the 2020 general election. These predetermined ballots were not cast in a manner which is both required and determined by law, one voter, one ballot, one vote representation. These predetermined ballots have been verified in a manner which is based upon the use of digital forensics, forensic mathematics, forensic accounting, and rhythm analysis, further combined with the aid of computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. This investigation, after millions of tests, confirmed and revealed the following specifics. 38% of the mail-in ballots cast for Joe Biden were found to be of a predetermined nature. 33% of the Election Day ballots cast for Donald J. Trump were found to be of a predetermined nature. 59% of the votes, when adjusted by removing the predetermined outcome and revealing the true vote, is found to have been the votes cast for Donald J. Trump. 41% of the votes, when adjusted by removing the predetermined outcome and revealing the true votes, is found to have been cast for Joe Biden. A deeper forensic analysis revealed that 91.62% of the predetermined ballots were cast in the favor of Joe Biden. A predetermined ballot is a ballot that has been decided by a mathematical algorithm and inserted, and leads to having to make the paper ballots be created to match the electronic outcome. The use of predetermined algorithms to determine the outcome of the election was used widespread across all Maricopa County, Arizona voting precincts. This is our ballot packing chronology report for Maricopa County, Arizona. The determination is the boxes were pilfered and opened and reopened over time to either insert or remove ballots. The specifics are as follows. 45 individual pallets of ballots existed, approximately 1,675 boxes. 52 of these boxes were pre-set aside on Election Day for a hand audit if required. Each box has an average of 7 batches of ballots. An average ballot batch is 200 ballots. Each box was found to have been opened and reopened over time. The only boxes not found to be opened or reopened over time were the pre-selected 52 hand audit boxes. The dates in the boxes of the ballots are not consistent with how the ballots were processed. Each ballot had both multiple dates and multiple months of ballots, which is not congruent with how these ballots were processed. 141 individual batches took 2 days or more to process. The highest or largest batch was 1,393. The average batch was 200 ballots, with the smallest being 46 or 10 ballots, each taking 2 days to process. The 2-day ballot batches comprised 30,122 individual ballots, or just under 2.5 times the margin of the election. 89% of these dual date batches were decided for Joe Biden. Election workers with decades of experience have never seen such dual-date batches. We have complete boxes and layers of boxes where one candidate won 100% of the batches, which is not consistent with the ending turnout. 1,394 of the batches were compromised. That's 13.94% of the batches we believe were digitally altered. Our conclusion is the ballots were removed from and added to batches and boxes after the official election dates. They were pilfered in order to make the paper match the digital outcome. Everything in elections is predicated on following the laws, the rules, and the regulations. But most important, treating every single voter equal under the eyes of the law. This is our forensic calibration and compliance report for Maricopa County. There were over 2 million ballots cast in 2020 in Maricopa County, Arizona. The problem is 343,304 of those voters were treated differently than all of the rest of the voters in Maricopa County. This could also be said this way. This is 343,304 violations of the 14th Amendment. This is our forensic quad photograph. Human cast vote, correct ballot paper, official printing density, and perfect print calibration and machine maintenance. Let's focus on calibration. It is simple. If a machine is not taken care of and falls out of calibration, then there can be excessive problems with the ballots being handled and counted properly. You are looking at both the front and the back of an official Maricopa ballot at the same exact time, in conjunction with special forensic microscopy cameras. We light the back in order to see through the paper to see both sides at one time. One printed mark is on the front and the other is on the back side. This is a perfect calibration of a perfectly printed official Maricopa 2020 ballot. Let's look at a few. Now that your eyes are trained, you can clearly see this calibration is way out of alignment. It's simple. It's a horrible alignment and horrible reading results. Let's look at a few calibrations. These machines are not operating within recommended guideline. We use the ballot's print calibration and our forensic microscopy process to create a unique identifiable printer ID for each ballot printed off specific printers. Each and every ballot printer leaves its own detectable fingerprint on each and every ballot it prints. This is how our forensic technology plots each and every ballot voted in Maricopa County in 2020. Think of this chart like a submarine radar. Every ballot which is perfect within all the rules, regulations, and compliances of the election appears within these green walls. Every ballot which is not within the rules, regulations, and compliances of elections are represented by these red dots. We track and flag every single ballot which is out of compliance, including just how out of whack the ballot printer was when printing the ballot. Every green check within the green walls is a perfectly printed ballot and a perfectly executed vote cast. Every red dot is not only an out-of-compliance ballot, but it also represents an individual voter who did not have the opportunity to vote perfectly according to the rules, laws, regulations, and compliance of the election and how they are supposed to be operated. Ask yourself this question. Of these 384 individual voters, did they all get to vote with the same rules, standards, and compliance as each and every other voter? Of course not. Only 17 voters had the privilege to be able to cast their votes by the exact rules, regulations, and compliance standards of elections. These other 331 disenfranchised voters were forced to the southeast corner of the room and had to vote on an inferior, out-of-compliance ballot which should have never been allowed to be used. This is physical evidence of 331 voters being treated differently than 17 other voters who were able and afforded to vote according to the rules, regulations, and compliance standards all elections have. Let's look over a few batches of ballots and let's show you just how widespread these out-of-compliance and maladministration actions in Maricopa County were. The Maricopa ballot-on-demand machines apparently have never been serviced. No one was supervising or inspecting these ballot printers according to the election rules. Ballots should never have been printed out of compliance. 343,304 individual ballots were printed significantly out of mechanical compliance. 343,304 individual Maricopa voters were not treated equal according to the 14th Amendment. More than 130,455 of these Maricopa voters were minorities. This election maladministration was widespread and encompassed virtually every single Maricopa voting precinct. This is a combination report of our ballot paper analysis, bleed-through vote analysis, chromatic analysis, human or machine voted oval analysis, and finally our machine fold, hand fold, and no fold analysis. Ballot paper analysis. Maricopa County reported it used only Roland Vote Secure paper for its official ballot stock in the 2020 election. This is patently false. Our systems detected numerous, not secure, not compliant, simple commercial grade paper cut to the ballot size was used widespread in Maricopa County primarily for the needs of the ballot-on-demand machines. In excess of 200,000 individual ballots were printed on unauthorized, not official, compromised, commercially available papers not suitable for compliant ballot voting stock. 10% of the ballots cast in Maricopa County, Arizona general election were compromised due to the wrong paper ballot stock being utilized. This absolute fact is further backed up by official witnesses and countless affidavits submitted by longtime election workers in Maricopa County, Arizona. Forced Adjudication Analysis Report. 120,867 individual voters' ballots, or 6% of the total ballots cast in the 2020 Maricopa general election, were compromised and created what is known as a forced adjudication event. The 120,867 ballots affected by this represents 9 times the deciding outcome of the 2020 election. This forced adjudication event is by our determination an intentional, totally avoidable, simple paper and ink hack which was perpetrated upon Maricopa County voters. To compromise any election, one needs an element of control over the ballot stock. When the ballot stock is compromised, only one additional element is needed to execute a simple system hack which will create the time opportunity to execute on nefarious activities which could be used to swing an election. That additional element is the use of a Sharpie to cast votes. Maricopa County demanded the use of Sharpies for the 2020 general election. This was the first time in history that Sharpie pens had ever been encouraged or demanded to be used in its elections. Before 2020, the use of such writing instruments like Sharpies were strictly prohibited. When Sharpie pens are combined with inferior ballot paper, this is what occurs. Bleed through votes on the ballot. Extra votes bleeding through from the back side of the ballot onto the front side. These extra votes confuse the scanning machine since they are read as stray marks. Yes, you might have now recognized that this particular ballot is a ballot voted for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. The opportunity to capitalize on bleed-through votes was both learned and perfected during the Obama period. The following is the net effect of this paper and time hack put into play in Maricopa County in 2020. Approximately 120,867 2020 Maricopa ballots displayed ghost bleed-through voted ovals. On these ballots, there were an extra 2,099,395 voted ovals appearing on the ballots. There was a minimum of 17 extra votes visible on each compromised ballot. This forced adjudication event, since the scanning and tally machines have variable scan level detection systems, which are unknown to those who operate the machines, helped force a massive adjudication event in Maricopa County, which was 11 times more than the historical averages. This forced adjudication hack was in widespread use in Maricopa County in 2020. This hack was human engineered with simple physical tricks to compromise the reading of the ballots and was 100% avoidable if historical standards and practices were applied. We estimate 45,929 individual votes by minorities were compromised by this forced adjudication hack. Chromatic Analysis Report. The official Maricopa County 2020 general election ballots had color coding on them, verifying they are a first-run official 2020 general election ballot. Each color indicator can be used to measure the veracity of the official report. We found in each category of color measurement, the reports provided by Maricopa County officials fail. This possibly indicates both the manipulation of the ballot and, more than reported, duplicate ballots. An official 2020 election ballot, when being first run in mail to a voter, will display various color indicators, such as red printing in several locations, including color designates, which could be printed in text terms. If the reporting was accurate and true, there should have been 1,697,778 color ballots. In system, there are reasons to have black and white ballots. Our findings were only one of the 8 possible color categories matched official records. All others are lacking. There may have been an over-reporting by the county or the audit of 94,737 individual ballots. We have an excess of black and white ballots in system, which represent a 10-fold increase over the margin of the election. Human or machine voted oval analysis. Our systems measure differences between votes cast by human hand and those which were machine inserted into ballots. Our systems report findings in excess of 3 million possibly inserted ovals on the ballots. These machine inserted ovals appear to exist in the down ballot races which were not hand counted. Machine inserted ovals could be used to benefit races found to have undervotes.
These marks that are created on the ballot is we have a huge library of handmade marks, so it's not a perfect oval that you're going to be able to identify that was marked by a machine, but it's a library of different random hand marks that looks like somebody else used a Sharpie to vote the ballot. So you're not going to be able to say this is a ballot voted by the accessible voter. This is a ballot voted by a person with a Sharpie, for example, with a marker.
Yeah, again, it's all about preserving voter anonymity. If you only have 1 or 2 disabled voters in a given precinct, and if you're using standard marking techniques where they're an exact perfect fill of that oval, you would be able to distinguish that ballot from somebody that just hand marked it. So this is one of those further steps that we do to preserve that anonymity.
These were the most undervoted affected individual races which could have statistically benefited from the insertion of machine inserted ovals in an undervote detected ballot. County sheriff, county recorder, county lawyer, and each of the 5 county board of supervisors. In every category of color measurement, the reports provided by Maricopa County officials fail. This possibly indicates a manipulation of the ballots and more than reported duplicated ballots. This could be a sign of a direct result of pilfering ballot boxes and possibly backloading the ballots. This is the kinematic artifact detection analysis for fold report. The Maricopa 2020 ballots were subjected to 3 individual tests for forensic fold detection. There are 142,091 anomaly ballots, which represent a count 1,200% larger than the official outcome of the election. These forensic tests are in 3 parts. Machine folds. These are official mailed and returned by mail, mail-in ballots. Hand folds. Walk-in early vote ballots. No folds. Election day or duplicated ballots. Maricopa County failed each kinematic artifact detection forensic test for folds. There are 142,091 anomaly ballots, which represents a count 1,200% larger than the official outcome of the 2020 election. These numbers confirm ballot swapping, ballot box pilfering, and excess ballot production and duplication. This is our stenography security report, also known as a stochastic pixel detection and analysis report. 10,943 individual Maricopa 2020 general election ballots were determined to be counterfeit in nature. Our team uses stochastic pixels detection as part of a 10-step forensic process comprised of computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to confirm the authentic nature of the ballots used in the 2020 general election in Maricopa County, Arizona. In our investigation, each ballot to be considered an official ballot must pass a 10-step forensic analysis process, which includes but is not limited to the presence of stochastic pixels, official ballot paper, various print quality metrics, ink density, optical density, printer calibration measurements, which are used as a unique forensic fingerprint of a particular machine's identity, plus other forensic measurement techniques to identify suspicious and abnormal ballots, which we refer to as counterfeit ballots. We apply the term counterfeit in the literal sense of the definition, to imitate something authentic with the intent to steal, destroy, or replace the original for use in illegal transactions or otherwise to deceive individuals into believing that the fake is of equal or greater value than the real thing. The 10,943 individual counterfeit ballots were used widespread across all of Maricopa County. The 10,943 individual counterfeit ballots were voted in the following manner. 39% of the counterfeit ballots were cast for Donald Trump. 46% of the counterfeit ballots were cast for Joe Biden. 13% of the counterfeit ballots were cast for write-in candidates. These counterfeit ballots gave Joe Biden an advantage over Donald Trump equal to almost 7% of the deciding outcome. The malicious use of 10,943 counterfeit ballots represents a subverted or stolen vote from the Arizona voters, which are equal to 104% of the deciding outcome of the Arizona 2020 general election. These counterfeit ballots were used widespread all across Maricopa County, Arizona. This is our vote modification analysis. Alarming is in the 2020 Maricopa general election, 235,367 individual ballots were changed by either a human or a machine after the ballots were tallied. 99% of all ballot batches were modified, without anyone expecting the physical ballot paper. Why did this occur? Why so many electronic changes? What changes were made to the ballots? There are over 188 million possible voted ovals on the Maricopa ballots. How could anyone tell? Historically, across American elections, if more than 4 ballots per 100 showed errors in the system, the machines were considered to not be functioning properly. This is 1 out of every 25 ballots. In the 2016 general election, correcting ballots happened about 1 per 100 ballots. In 2018 across America, it was 2 times per 100 ballots, or 1 out of every 50 ballots. In 2020, Maricopa, Arizona, had the adjudication rates jumped to an astounding 1 out of every 8 ballots cast. This abnormality in Maricopa represents almost 12 times the historical average for ballot modifications. In Maricopa, 235,367 individual changed by either a human or machine after the ballots were cast. In the past, this would have been just a double handful of ballot boxes needing checking over by experienced human election workers. However, for the first time in Maricopa general election history, artificial intelligence by a computer modified your ballot. The use of artificial intelligence and disconnected workstations digitally masked the ballot adjudication crisis in Maricopa. Instead of just a double handful of boxes needing changes for paper ballots, the artificial intelligence hid the fact that 2 1/2 pallet loads of ballots needed to be modified. These 235,367 changes were modified digitally after they were voted, and the physical paper was never inspected by hand. These ballots were held inside a synthetic time hack. In a time study, it is estimated this took 7 to 12 days of electronic suspension, which were not allowed to drop straight to the vote tally bottom line. Why were 1 out of 8 ballots changed by human or machine? Why were the physical ballots not examined? Why send a poor digital photo of the ballots to a remote adjudication station? What really happened during this time? Why were the physical ballots removed from the physical review process? Were the physical ballots actually missing, only to appear later in the process? 99% of all ballot batches were modified in Maricopa without anyone inspecting a physical paper ballot to confirm there was an original paper ballot scanned. Ballot mail analysis. One way to gain access to extra ballots for nefarious purposes is called ballot cracking. Maricopa County shows signs of widespread ballot cracking operations in excess of 53,866 official 2020 ballots. Ballot cracking is a technique where, when the ballots are undelivered or returned undeliverable, individuals crack open the ballot, then vote the ballot inside, place it in the return envelope, and either do not sign the ballot or apply a bogus signature. If the county elections do not do signature verification, ballot cracking can go undetected. Returned as undeliverable ballots are the most susceptible to ballot cracking. When returned to the county, these ballots simply disappear. Maricopa County reported, albeit months after the election, that 53,866 ballots had been returned undeliverable. When this happens, Maricopa County workers are supposed to notify the voter that their ballot was returned within a week of the ballot coming back undeliverable. When asked to audit these records, Maricopa officials reported that these ballots had not been retained by them and that they were sent back to Runback to destroy, and that they actually had been destroyed. This is against several U.S. election codes for retention and preservation of records and papers for elections for a period of 22 months after the election. These 53,866 ballots were more than likely part of a widespread ballot cracking operation. Even though it took a year past the 2020 election for Maricopa to report these ballot numbers and the destruction of them, there is still one problem. The Election Assistance Commission, utilizing United States Postal Service records, reported for 2020 that 110,092 general election ballots were in fact returned in Maricopa County, Arizona. Ballot cracking these mysteriously disappearing 110,092 ballots would have been inserting a number of nefarious ballots in an amount greater than 400% of the official margin of the election. These missing official ballots are a widespread election fraud problem in Maricopa County. This is our phantom voter report based on the Hutton rating system. Forensic research suggests there are 246,691 phantom voters on the Maricopa voter rolls. This number equates to an overinflation of the Maricopa voter rolls of just under 10%. Activating 100% of the phantom voters which have been planted into the Maricopa voter rolls in terms of voter turnout could impact the end result of an election by almost 12% of the total votes counted. Our forensic investigation system looks at numerous indicators of fraud, such as inflated voter turnout, fraud ratings, civil rights impact, as well as party trending information over a 16-year period. One of our fraud indices is the Hutton Phantom Voter Rating System. Maricopa County has an average phantom voter load of 332 per voting precinct. The phenomenon of phantom voters inserted in Maricopa County is widespread. Once these phantom voters are activated within a specific election, they are almost always wiped from the voter rolls within weeks of the election they were used to cast a nefarious vote within. 2,697 Maricopa phantom voters, or 26% of the declared margin of the 2020 win, were scrubbed immediately following the election. These voters and their information could not be found in any other county or public databases. The use and activation of phantom voters in Maricopa County is widespread. The following is an explanation of how phantom voters are created.
Hi, Bobby Payton here to discuss phantom voters. There's a number of types of phantom voters that exist in voter rolls across this nation. The most common type of phantom voter is someone who has been duplicated, or, as I would say, the Gizmo effect, if anybody remembers that movie. They take the same first name, same last name, and they create a similar type of identity, maybe you're 1 or 2 years younger, in a different county. And that's one type of phantom voter. Another type of phantom voter is someone who was married and their maiden name, they changed their maiden name to their married name, but that maiden name is still voting without their knowledge in a different county within the state. That's another type of phantom voter. Then there is the college student that left town, and then all of a sudden they're still living at their parents' home. That's a third type of phantom voter. Then another one is one that is actually fraudulent, someone who does not exist, fraudulently created. So that's the next type. And then there's a phantom voter who is somebody who is absolutely, their name makes no sense. It's like gibberish. It's a last name that's not anywhere else in the voter rolls, but it's there, and that person never votes usually. Their sole purpose is to help harvest ballots. So what happens to all these phantom voters' ballots that are generated? Well, they get assigned to real people that did not vote. You need the ballots to assign to real people that did not vote. Now, it just so happens the most common last names in the state are where the largest number of other fictitious phantom voters exist. Now, they create multiple identities that they could take these ballots and assign them to someone that appears to be real because they are in fact real. They just had another version of themselves made.
Maricopa County has an average phantom voter load of 332 per voting precinct. Forensic research suggests there are 246,691 phantom voters on the Maricopa voter rolls. The phenomenon of phantom voters inserted in Maricopa County is widespread. This is our provisional ballot analysis. We compared the 2020 general election provisional ballots with the historic data of provisional ballots from 2016. In 2020, 66% of all provisional ballots were rejected, a total of 12,112 votes. That's more than the margin that determined the election, compared to 2016, when only 29% of provisional ballots were rejected. 12,112 provisional ballots were rejected in 2020, culminating in a 66% rejection rate. One of the most cited rejections of the 2020 election year for provisional ballots was, you were sent a ballot and it has already been returned and voted. This anomaly was both widespread and concentrated in key voting precincts. In 2020, only 34% of the ballots were accepted, whereas in 2016, 71% of the ballots were accepted. The single most affected group by this massive uptick in ballot rejections during the 2020 general election were minorities. Our auditing shows in some precincts, an appalling 81% of the ballots voted as provisional were found to be votes by minorities. In 2020, Maricopa County refused 7 out of every 10 provisional ballots cast. Over 12,000 provisional ballots were rejected. This number is greater than the deciding outcome of the election. With 81% of the ballots voted as provisionals coming from minorities, this represents 8 out of every 10 ballots cast provisionally. The civil rights impact of the Maricopa election is 79 to 83 out of each 100 voters in certain precincts are a minority. In 2020, 66% of all provisional ballots were rejected, a total of 12,112 votes. That's more than the margin that determined the election, compared to 2016, when only 29% of provisional ballots were rejected.
Wait a second, it doesn't So you said you voted in 2012?
Correct.
So yeah, so that doesn't show. And then did you vote? There's a midterm in 2014.
Wait a second. It doesn't show that I voted in 2012?
Correct.
That was my first vote. I got my citizenship in September 2012.
I understand.
Are you serious? It doesn't show that I voted in 2012. This is ridiculous.
Correct.
No. I got my citizenship. I was so proud that I was going to vote. Register date.
You want to go ahead
and this is funny. June 2nd, 2006. This is
not in here anywhere.
This is funny. The June 2nd. This is my birthday. June 2nd. This is funny. 2016. 80-year-old female.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it's funny because the same birthday.
Right. Yeah.
That may be a fabricated.
Yeah. I'm
So.
pissed. Oh my gosh.
Right, so what we see here is someone voted in your name for a midterm primary, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 presidential elections. You're saying you did not vote in.
I can tell you,
and
I can tell you I'm a bad patriot. The first time I got involved in politics was President Trump. That's my first presidential election. I have never voted in a midterm. I have never voted in another presidential election. This is all a lie. I am so upset.
So there's a lot to unpack there. A lot of counterfeit ballots, and you notice how they cheated from both sides.
Yes.
So what we're going to do now.
So, one, I feel lighter now. I got that out of my system.
Sitting on this has been nuts. And you're only looking at about 52% of our work, or it would have just kept on going for another hour plus. This is more than you could ever imagine. It's in every single category. Who saw 2,000 mules? Okay, even if they shut down loading up the ballot boxes and dropping them off, that won't do it. Because there's 103 different ways this is done. They never play, meaning for a full tilt win, because they have to hide it under all the precincts and they have to divide it up. If you only try one way and you get caught, you're sunk. Common sense, right? Common sense. And so it's a combination of intentional acts, combinations of like, now you understand what Sharpiegate was. They said the whole time, your ballot will be scanned. There's no problem. Your ballot will count it. They were telling the truth. How many people have heard of a Dominion voting machine? Raise your hand. How many people heard Dominion voting machine CEO sit up and say, we do not manufacture machines that connect to the internet? He was telling the truth. No. Here's part of the lie. Dominion does not make voting machines. That's how this lie works. The media will tell you they're Dominion voting machines. They're Dell machines. It's Dominion software. It is not machines. So when he sits there and says we don't make machines that connect to the internet, he's telling the truth. When they say that, hey, right, it's not going to cancel your vote, they're telling the truth. That's not what it was for. But when you have a ballot that has, you caught that, 120 some odd thousand ballots, 2.1 million extra votes on them. If anybody's processed ballots in the past, that's like they're spoiled or you spilled your soda or your coffee on it, the machine can't read it. They didn't cancel anything. They did. Eric Coomer, are you in the... Hello, hello. Okay. We got this. Your battery running out? 2.1 million extra votes on there. All they needed.
Try this one.
No, it's Mr. Microphone. Hey, Vinny, we'll be back to pick you up later. Anybody remember that commercial? Okay, I'm showing my age. 2.1 million extra votes on these ballots. It was a very... Okay. 2.1 million extra votes. Is it not close enough? Or is it okay. 2.1 million votes on the ballots. The machines can't read them. It's only a sophisticated. Thank you. What? Take my hand off the bottom. Okay. Sophisticated time hack. Do you remember they needed 12 extra days to count the ballots? Here's what happened. The Sharpie ballots got suspended, so they're held up here. They're waiting for adjudication. That's the only vote that doesn't fall to the bottom line right then. Remember, you're counting votes for an entire month. You have a voting month. You don't have a voting day. Everything's known before election day starts. So they hold them up here. They needed all these extra days to count. They were running about 144,000 to 150,000 ballots a day minimum coming into the election. And then they needed all those extra days to run the ballots. Most of those days they ran no ballots, and the average batch size was about 5,000 ballots. So what did they do with the extra days?
Mules.
I hear they're great for barbecue and chicken. You have to grab and replace, and you have an evidence trail. 1,675 boxes, all of them were pilfered. You have batches in the boxes. They have a title card basically on them that says how many ballots or whatever. All of those cards were on the bottom of the box. The batches were there, but they were missing ballots, and there was a bunch stacked on top. Every one of the boxes were open. And this is the first time in Maricopa histories the counts per batch never matched. You cannot do a massing swapping effort and keep up with the numbers. It's too hard to do. This is why we have to use computing to do it. 9,825 dead voters on the roll. Roughly 5,000 of them voted. You have people who were born, registered, died. That's a boo-boo, right? You just forgot it. You have people that were born, died, then registered. Then you have people that were born, died as a toddler, were aged to 18 years old, and voted for the first time in 2020. You have thousands of them, thousands and thousands. The canvass told you that about 380 some odd thousand votes were most likely missing. We found it electronically. When you see us showing the numbers and the ballots, this is not a theory. We're not saying we think the machine did it. We are saying, here is when and where it occurred. Here is the actual mathematical rhythm that did it. We did an three. Now my hand's in the middle of this thing. Y'all quit screwing with me. We did 3 million different tests. This can be verified by any mathematician in the world. We actually found the algorithm by which it was done. Period. Means we can track every single one of them. So there's a lot of things that we could cover. I guess we'll go and do questions first and fire away.
Well, I know we were talking about the overmailed ballots, and there's about 1.5 million overmailed ballots. I remember you talking about that. Is that what was used to fill these phantom voters?
The records show, first off, we got no run-back records. We got no postal records. They were denied. Corey, not pushing for them. It looks like, the numbers look like, for some reason, run back for your roughly 2,545,000 voters mailed 4,089,000 ballots, or printed 4,089,000 ballots. We don't have an answer for that. And so if you have excess ballots, you can do this. You need the machines to do something, and then you need to catch up. And all of these are individually coded to precincts, so you got to have inventory to do it. And so that's how the inventory comes in. That's why ballot cracking is so key. But you never know what they're going to be able to use or to get in. That's why the folds don't match. That's why the colors don't match, etc. A few things you should know. Run back with your official printer. Who's heard of COVID? China virus. We heard about it in January of, just beginning of January 2000, right? The first holiday they told us all to stay home and don't visit our family was July 4th weekend, 2020. When we got to August, 38 states decided that they got to go all mail-in ballots. Runbeck placed the largest order in the world ever for ballot envelope stuffing machines on March 1. How did they know? I have the order and everything. Second part of it, part of what I was asking the Senate for to do my job forensically, because we look at stuff that nobody else looks at, right? It's just a science. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. That's it. That's what details the number. It's not theory. Our United States has what's called a mail cover system. This is how when somebody sends anthrax to the president, you're able to track it. And our postal service, when that comes in and it goes on the conveyor belts, it snaps a front and a back photo and it's automatic. Those records are kept for 6 years for investigational work like we do. As soon as Runbeck ordered the machines, our United States Post Office stopped its mail cover program on April 1. It undid it from 6 years, changed it to 30 days, let the election run, let Biden get installed, and then turned it back on. We do not have the physical evidence trial. That's when I was telling you this is the highest levels of the government. This is how far it goes. Well, he's asking how many people are required to do this. Let me give you a different number. If I wanted to buy every politician in the country that was making these decisions, there's about 7,000 of them. And if I made a deal with them, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year if you'll look the other way. It's going to cost me $7 billion. When the United States government, between what we own as citizens, about $157 trillion, and what the government and lands and buildings own, we're about a $450 trillion nation. You can control $450 trillion for about $7 billion. So, where's the money and how's it hidden? Well, even some of the more stuff will coming out, because this is coming out. We discovered 10,000 people using the exact same Social Security number. We discovered 10,000 people using the exact Social Security number. See if this one rings true. You take an illegal, you bring them in. They sign a piece of paper promising to pay taxes. What they get is a Social Security number. So the employers can take out the taxes. Put a pin in that. Here's what they do. In cities like this, let's think of a chicken processor. They will bring in hundreds of illegals. They will spread them out across all of these plants and factories, giving them jobs. They're all using the same Social Security number. The IRS unconnected our names from the Social Security number. Now when you look it up, it just pings to see if there's an employer. If there is, it says it's good, it validates it. Why do they do that? Because all of these factories are giving them Social Security numbers. The government turns its back on it. As soon as you have a Social Security number and you go over to motor voter, pass the driver's test, right? You get a driver's license. The person looks, you got a social, you must be a citizen. That's how they pack the rolls. By the way, those guys don't pay taxes anyway. It's taken out by companies. Our government's been sitting on $1.7 trillion slush fund that one fund has still in it to this day. So if you want to know where the dark money comes from. By the way, that's what, $100 million in a month in interest. I could go on. I now understand this is why they tried to kill us. And it's not stuff I wanted to know. It's not stuff I wanted to know about my country. It's not stuff I believed. But we have a uniparty. We don't have multiple parties. Everybody's benefited from this at one time or another. Everybody's turned their back on it at one time or another. And it's gotten so far, we've lost potentially our country. Nobody ever believes it's going to happen in their lifetime. Now, these are the brave people up here that know something's going on and want it fixed. But I don't want to shout out these people. I want to shout out, where the hell are the rest of your lawmakers? I want to know why ballot muling was exposed 15 years ago. 15 years ago, by the same people that exposed it now. It was reported to Ken Bennett and Randy Poulin, and they did nothing. 15 years ago. Oh, by the way, both of those people were inserted in the audit. No, hang on, slow down, slow down. It's very easy to hate in this. Do not do that. Use logic. This is not about hate. You get to the hateful nature, we're screwed. Stop it. This is pragmatism and logic. This was the greatest gift that ever happened to us. Because we could be sitting at home right now and never know it. I'm going to turn it back over, and I'm just going to let the questions from up here drive it from now.
I just have one thing to say. Does this work? Microphone?
Microphone.
Is it working? Okay. Jovan, thank you for putting that together. Very informative. I was trying to find something good to say, but it's depressing as hell. My God. I mean, it's depressing. We've been cheated, beyond cheated. And the only thing good I can say is that we are not just a majority, we are the super majority. If they have to go to that level to cheat on an election, they don't have anything. They got to go to 1,000 different ways to cheat because we are so powerful. And now that we know how they're cheating, we're going to turn this around. We've got... Can you imagine if the Democrats and the rhinos on the right would spend even half the time they spent in trying to cheat us out of our elections on policies that helped us, what our country could be? Their days are numbered. It all ends. We're going to go out and vote August 2nd like our lives depend on it, and we're going to actually show them the door on November 8th, right? Thank you for putting that together. I think we have another video at some point we want to show.
Do we have another video to run?
San Luis.
Yeah, go and play that 4-minute video.
Should I mention what it is real quick?
Sure.
This is from San Luis, where we're actually seeing some people plead guilty for being mules. And thank God for Gary Garcia Snyder showing up and taking this video. He shared this video with our team, and we put it together, and we want to show you just for the left who's going to try to say we're disenfranchising people of color. That's complete BS. San Luis, Arizona is 85% Latino. And these poor people down there have thought that the way you vote is you get a ballot and then you hand it over to somebody and they vote for you. That is disenfranchising people of color. And this is how it happens, and there's a lot of people who were in on it.
So right here what you see is Guillermo Fuentes. She's a ex-mayor of San Luis, Arizona, a school board member, and also on the planning and zoning of the city. This is just one of the constituents. Notice that she didn't have anything in her hands before she went over there to the water. Now she has a ballot herself. The constituent's taken out her ID. Guillermo Fuentes has given her a little paper that says these 3 names to vote for. Notice she's already voted inside, so why is she taking a ballot to go inside and deposit it? She's helping this lady, so she had an excuse to go inside and drop it off in the ballot box itself. Right here in this video, you see a school board member, Rosa Valera, Guillermo Fuentes, from the previous videos. She's, like I said, the ex-mayor of San Luis, school board member. This is a neighbor that lives right next to Guillermo Fuentes. This is Alma Yadira Juarez. If you notice, she has a ballot in her left hand when she turns. You notice Guillermo Fuentes has no ballots. You notice the mask, you notice the gloves, only on Rosa Valera. She's passing over information who should be voted for. She receives it. The gentleman right there is a lookout. He's looking out that makes sure people are not paying attention or recording anything of any issue, or police or law enforcement. That's what the guy's there for. She's pulling out her ID to show them that she has an ID to vote. Once we go a little bit forward to this video, please watch the 2 hands of Guillermo Fuentes right here, and also remember this lady still had a ballot in her left hand. So we noticed the ballot was received from Almia Juarez. Now, the Attorney General said there was no forgery. He couldn't find it. There was no conspiracy to commit fraud. I believe that right there is forgery. You know, you sign the ballot, you sign the other ballot. Look at everyone else. They're not even scared. They're not nervous in any way. There we go. You see the ballot, plain and easy. Pushes it back in. Even takes her time to lick it with the water. So right there, just right there is forgery. But now this is the only case that they only said we got her for 4 ballots, because there was 4 ballots right there. Just right there. But we notice if you zoom into this video, there's another 10 ballots right there. So this Almia Juarez is taking a ballot she already had plus 4. This has been happening every day, all day, for the past 20 years in San Luis, Arizona. But on this day, I was lucky enough to listen to David Lara and tell me exactly what I was going to watch. And my faith, my God, led me to this right here, to get this videos, because at the end of the day, good will succeed. And right now, out of the 2 indictments that we have, if you notice my hat, it says my mules are behind bars. Little speech, 2 out of 37, because we have 37 people, individuals in my videos, not just these right here. We still have some more videos that are being used by the Attorney General to do indictments. It took 2 years to do indictments. Right here, sooner or later, we'll show you a document where it said I had it since 2020, exactly what I saw in these videos, everything I turned over to the Attorney General, and it's miraculously, after 2 years, now he's barely starting to put some work in. This is for me, is treason. You know, Arizona is about laws, foundation. Well, the judicial system is broken when you got the highest law enforcement of the state and he's not willing to prosecute.
I just want to say one thing about that. First of all, thank you to Gary and David for their diligent work. We put this out today and we asked Josh if we could show it here. This judge is about to sentence Guillermina, and I frankly don't want to see her get a slap on the wrist. I think minimum, she should be locked up until after this election. We don't want more cheating. So we want to put pressure. Our Attorney General had this video before the 2020 election, November 3rd election, and we still are waiting for justice. We will get justice one way or another. I hope he finds a conscience and gives it to us now.
Jovan,
Amen.
You all saw 2,000 mules. There was 200 mules in Maricopa County, but there's not 200 arrests. And that's a problem. Jovan, do you want to tie that together for us with what you found to what Greg Phillips found?
Yeah, right now we're working, you saw Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht and their fine work. We have now discovered, you're right, they're true heroes, absolutely, true heroes. Was David and Gary were here, right? Are they here tonight? Okay. Anyway, we now know we can take the telemetry data, and with what we know and how we track it, we can now track it from the drop box into the system all the way through to the precincts. So that's what we're working on now. We can pick those up and follow them through the precinct.
So, Josh, is it on now? Okay. One of the key features that we're missing as a retired criminal investigator is evidence from the field. I would encourage each and every one of you to get the app, Votify Now, VOTIFYNOW. With that app, once you have an identity, if you witness an extra envelope that comes to your house, somebody who walks up to a drop box with a fistful of ballots, if you witness an election irregularity, within the app, you can describe what you've seen. You can take photos of the person, the license plate number, the envelope, whatever you see that is suspicious. Once you submit that, that now goes into a national database, and it was rolled out about 7 weeks ago. Data is pouring in from across the country, because don't forget, our primary is going to be August 2nd. There have been primaries going on for months in other states. And that's where we are starting to see exactly what it is that you presented here. The data trends, for the first time ever, we're actually going to have the data from the evidence from the field. So it's Votify Now, VOTIFYNOW. It's an app, both Android and iPhone. It's free to use. And what we're trying to do is empower each and every one of the people in this room and across Arizona. Quite frankly, you all have the opportunity to be witnesses and gather evidence. This is crucial because it ties the field and what you are seeing with what you presented. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Just one quick note, talking about that, yes, you have to start collecting evidence, and this is what the system doesn't want, and that's why we're the cure. Interesting note, when we were getting started and hadn't started yet, the hackers had already attacked the live feed, and they shut the live feed down, right? But then they got it back on, is what I understand. We hadn't even started yet, and there were almost 14 million views. Boom. And we weren't even started.
Hey, Jovan, you talked about the Social Security numbers and this ERIC system that is here in Arizona and Wisconsin and other. Can you explain that, clarify that to them, how that's a big problem?
Arizona is one of the pioneer states that launched ERIC. ERIC stands for the Electronic Registration Information Center. It's because the state said, we don't have enough time and personnel to get all the dead people off the rolls or to tell when people moved. And so the state, this was started during the Obama administration. They tried to make it an agency. It got denied. So it was put together by funding by the Pew Charitable Trust and George Soros. And so they started it up. And your state took the voter rolls, Social Security rolls, and driver's license information for your entire state and sent it to this ERIC company. And what they do is to say, okay, who do we have to do this and who do we have to find this? I'm going to jump forward first. 38 states do that. You imagine the data? They have 4 employees. Where does your data go? Well, this is how they're cloning. When you read their agreements, it says they'll find them. They send them to the state every month. When you read the bylaws, it says the state doesn't have to use it. You ever wonder why the state knows where the people are that left that can be voted? Because it's creating a second side list. I now believe when we request the voter rolls, we get the ERIC clean one. And what's going on is the state uses a different one. It's a massive con to undo the United States of America. And they've probably put about 22 million people in system that way that are not real. and we've got to get this state, we already got Louisiana off, we've got to get this state to drop it. How can you justify, look, this is a perfected hack. They know everything about you. They can even bill in medical terms, credit card, they have all your information, and we hand it to them. You're supposed to, we can't look at ballots because we're not supposed to know what your real name is or anything. The state, your most private asset, they didn't ask you. They just sent it to this outside company. They have everything. Everything. This is outrageous.
So I don't have a question, but I do have just a couple comments. One is, remember 2016, the Democrats were showing us how the election could be stolen. Remember that? There's video, there's people testifying on how they could steal an election. Why? Because they thought Trump stole the election back in 2016. So we have got to keep pushing. And, Kari Lake as governor has already promised to look into this audit and do everything we can as a legislature and as a new governor to get to the bottom of what happened. We have, and you all know, I'm preaching to the choir. We have a Republican governor. We have Republican Board of Supervisors. We were, right. So, the world was looking at us to do what was right. And you all know that this election was stolen, and in a Republican state. But I want to say that these people up here are fighters, and we will do everything we can to get to the bottom and to prosecute anybody and everyone that has been involved in stealing this election. We have an illegitimate president, Joe Biden. Donald Trump is our president, and we can never, ever, ever be pushed in a corner and say, well, you guys just need to move on, because that we can never move on. We do have a primary coming up. We have to get involved. We have to be eyes out there. And like Mark said, get on this Votify and do everything we can, get our neighbors involved. Because now they know we're watching. I think Jovan said earlier, this is actually a gift. We've known for years they've been stealing elections. Okay, but they hated Donald Trump so much that they did what they could to steal the presidential election. So just keep fighting. Check your candidates out there. I think Kari Lake, when she gets in, you're going to see Arizona be the tip of the spear for the entire nation, and we will be better than Florida. And I just want to say, let's keep fighting.
Yep. Hey, I have a question, Jovan.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay, thanks, Kari. First of all, thank you so much for coming to Arizona, for being the pointy tip of the spear. Everyone looks to Arizona to lead the way, and you are enabling us to do that. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you.
My question is, from your briefing, you said, more than 1,000 boxes were tampered with.
Right.
What was that, 85, 90%, something like that?
Yes.
Were tampered with.
Yes.
And you said they were tampered with by a human and or a machine, correct?
The machines did it first. Basically, what we believe we're seeing is a predetermined outcome means the number was decided. Let me give you an example. Everybody heard that the election was won by, 2,089,000 whatever votes. And then on the 6th, 7th, 8th, the 5th, 6th, and 7th, NBC, ABC, CBS confirmed that vote. The Board of Supervisors confirmed it on November 20th. Ducey and Hobbs certified it on November 30th. Gets worse. They certified it on the 30th. They needed to certify it on the 30th because it has to go to the Electoral College on the morning of the 8th. The records, as presented to us, given to us, show that on the morning of the 8th and the 9th, they still hadn't run 120,000 ballots through the system.
Bingo. So here's my question.
How could they have a number?
Right.
They never had a number.
How do we catch these people who criminally got into these boxes And can we catch them? How do we catch them? And how do we arrest them?
Right. Yeah. The county, of course, is not cooperating. They have a vested interest in saying nothing happened. The biggest fairy tale in the United States is there's no such thing as election fraud. The second lie is I didn't see any evidence of proof. The third lie is I didn't see any widespread evidence of proof. And the last lie, like Brnovich used, is, well, we didn't get anything. We've never seen it. In all of these areas, they have been shut down and not compelled. Everything that was asked for in the subpoenas and the audits, there's still tremendous stuff out there that has never been turned over. The one thing that perfects it is the router and Splunk logs. We have now discovered why your sheriff won't turn them over. No. I had this heart-to-heart discussion with General Flynn about this because it disturbs me finding it. Russia was not about Donald Trump. No. Russia was sold to the nation to activate in our own country a backdoor system where they activated old programs that they dropped in every law enforcement agency that allowed them to see all of the traffic of the vote through the law enforcement agency as a protection measure. That is the back door. It comes through the sheriff's department. That's what they're hiding. Well, we put out a report card. You said if we don't get to the people. Our work's still ongoing. Once we understood, like none of the downvotes were recounted. We know there's votes there. We still can't tell you where they're. We still got 188 million ovals to vote on. We unfortunately, you have to explore the unknown to discover the unforeseen. Because we had no idea. Now we kind of know, and we know what we have to do and where we have to go. What you will see from us in the final reports is we put everything down by board supervisor. So every infraction, you get a board supervisor report card. We can see clearly which districts participated the most, which districts made sure there weren't chain of custody. We plotted all down. Well, you're going to get it for your reps, and you're going to get it for your senators too. Yes.
So finally, I want to rip apart this voter fraud racketeering thing. And how do we put Hobbs and Fontes and those kinds of people in jail?
Well, Brnovich folks, Brnovich talks a good game, but I've never talked to him. I've talked to their investigators. I've never talked to his second, Jennifer Wright, who was supposed to talk. That all gets shut down. I did a massive download with them. All of the people involved in the audit that had evidence, most of them had about a 30 to a 40-minute interview of what happened. I spent hours with them only because I'm persistent and I forced it. But even then, outside of the things I'm giving them, and I'm telling them, look, we got 208 million proof files. I need to send these to you. Okay, and we get the server. They came back and said, we can't take it. We don't have the server capacity. We don't want the proof files. But they did ask me a lot of questions. They wanted to know conveniently, did I hack the Georgia election? I'm trying to figure out why investigators here in Arizona, and I'm doing this work, what they want to do is say, did you really hack the Georgia election? Because they're trying to triangulate all of us in this stuff. Now that we know this, we can plug it. It's not going to come down to your AG folks. I think you know it. And you're going to learn one or two ways. Brnovich is a coward. And Brnovich is if you can spend enough time in politics and political office, you get a really nice retirement payday. That's what he's playing for. You're going to see one or two things. You're going to see magically he's going to win, just like Kemp and Ratzasberger in Georgia, right? And that's going to tell you it. Or you're going to see he's just going to get a different political office, but they'll put him in. But that's the gift. We're seeing it now. We have names. Let's just take the paper hack. A forensic investigation is exactly that. You don't know where it is. You don't know where it's going to lead. But when we interviewed the paper manufacturers who manufactured the vote secure paper, who, in order for us to read it right, even though the Board of Supervisors and the Soros website, Arizona Mirror and all that stuff wrote crap, we're working with the paper manufacturer. They sent us the samples to train our systems because they said these guys are going to destroy the ballot paper industry. They told us that you're going to find when you look at the ballot on demand machines, it's going to be out of whack because the way they understand it is Dominion is the supplier for the paper for the ballot on demand machines, not Runbeck. Runbeck's the mailing part, and Dominion conveniently didn't fill the orders. So all of a sudden, when you have the state demand Sharpies and Dominion doesn't fill the orders, you got 748 precincts that need to cover their people. They don't know they're perfecting the hack. And that's how they push it to the bottom line. When you look at, and that's how they do it. They push it to the lowest common denominator. And so the precincts went out like they're supposed to do, make sure you can get election, and they just bought what they thought was the right paper cut to the right size. But when your state demanded the Sharpie and didn't supply the paper, it perfected the hack. A lot of this is called a perfected hack. When Pro V&V came in on February 28th, 2021 to do your first audit, and they looked at the machines, their only job is to say, was the software that was supposed to be on the machine was there? Did it turn on? Did it turn off? Could it count paper? Not votes.
Logic test.
But you have to understand, the people who decide the audit is the Board of Supervisors. They tell you what you can look for. And you can't report anything that's not found. When you take your own machines in Arizona that were audited by Pro V&V, we went back into the records and we look at those machines. We get a serial number. We turn around and take that serial number because it's a Dell machine. We ping that serial number. All of them had wireless modems and 5G in them. But it's integrated into the card. The trick is words. There's no such thing as a modem anymore. It's integrated into the damn card. It's a chip. It does it by default. When you turn on the machine, it starts looking for a signal. And if that signal's there, there is. In Fulton County, Georgia, 250 ACLU attorneys sat there with a wireless laptop in the election voting system under the guise of protecting it. Every one of them opened the channel so things could be done. This is how it works. They push it to the lowest common denominator. They want plausible deniability. But because we've never focused on every way they do it, we've never been able to close it off. Now we know every way it's done, we can shut it down. Period. We can shut it down. We're going to have to fight things like states have laws that say you must use an electronic voting machine. We got to go paper, manual count. And you know what? Let me ask you a question. If they don't communicate to the outside, how does CNN know the vote tally?
True.
I mean, it's simple. They think we're stupid. I don't care if we do a vote and we have to wait a week. Do you? No. I just want the right number. I don't like doing this work. This is horrible. This has been a burden. I want it done. I want it fixed so it can't keep on happening.
A couple things.
They're already doing it. It's already done. It's already done.
So when these great people don't get elected because we've been cheated again, what can we do?
What we have to do is you have to, first off, this is not get in the streets with your guns. I want to make sure you understand that. I really want to make sure you understand that. They're going to use it to take our Second Amendment away. We are being set up. We must fight this with information and intel and stay in their face. I watched a group of 10 ladies, average age 76, that I taught to use Twitter, and Brnovich was at 48, and they took him to 17 in 1 week. If we can have 6 very large pink-haired ladies that are liberals, that have male genitalia, but they identify as ladies, and they can swing a multi-billion-dollar corporation to be shamed, why are we not doing it to the system ourselves? I'm sorry.
You talked about the voting machines, electronic voting machines. Mark and I are plaintiffs in a case. We're suing, actually, some of our favorite people. Katie Hobbs, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and Pima County Board of Supervisors. We want to get rid of these machines for once and for all throughout Arizona. The defendants have asked for the case to be just dismissed, and we're going to continue to fight for that. So we have to, I know, we're working hard on that. Did you want to say something, Marianne?
If Karen Fan signed off on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors letter that they had provided everything for the audit that they were requested to do, which we all know that wasn't done.
You're pointing at the wrong person.
Okay, but who has filed a lawsuit to preserve these records, because it's all going to go away at the beginning of September? Has anybody?
Hold on.
That's
Hold
a good
on.
question.
Hold on. Corey is your problem. Corey Langhofer, the attorney. Karen only does what he pushes what wants done, and he's a Romneyite, has been a Romneyite for a long time. Corey plays a different game. So Karen Fan's a hero for getting this thing done. Do I like that she's not here? I think it's being a coward. But did she get this done? Yes. So in Maricopa, you remember, you're the 4th largest county in the United States, 2nd largest voting block. Yeah, that is right? Voting block of people in the country. You are larger than most states. We actually have those ballots. They can never take that away. We have the physical evidence to prove it. But this is going to be a fight. They fought it the entire way. And that we have to fight this just on an evidence trail, and here it is. So for your suit, where Dr. Daugherty and everything says, here's what we think's happened, here's what's changing, what we're able to do is now go, okay, and here's the algorithm that did it, and here's the exact ballot was changed and where it was. That's what was needed to connect all this together that we've been doing.
Well, and I would add to that, the fact that we are in court right now, the fact that we have asked for a preliminary injunction, the fact that this is, we've acknowledged that it's probably not going to be done in time for the primary, but certainly we have plenty of time to implement hand counting in time for the general. The records that are a part of this will more than likely be subpoenaed or sequestered and protected from destruction because they are part of an ongoing investigation that deals with the TRO. Now, we can't promise that, but that is one of the things that we have asked for in our declaratory relief document and all that. So we're doing everything that we can to preserve the evidence, but therein lies part of the problem, is the, you referred to the ballots that were destroyed by Runback, 55,000 or so.
Well, it's actually 110,000 and change, but the county would only say there were 56,000, but.
Correct.
Yes.
So those are election documents that are protected under 52 CFR 20701. They're paper documentation. So the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors has already committed at least 55,000 crimes.
Each one's an individual crime.
Each one of those is a separate criminal offense. Now, you're probably going to have a new attorney general, a new governor, and a new secretary of state to see to it that that happens.
I want to add one thing to that. You must understand 2 things of how this game's played. When you heard Attorney Barr come on television and say, we're not going to put a special investigator on it because we just don't believe there's enough evidence that will lead to a material difference in the outcome of the election. Let me explain how that works. Words are everything in this. Words are everything. So if we were in a state and there was 100,000 bad votes, and in this room, we all got together and we found 95,000 of those bad votes on our own, and we went to the AG and showed them every one, you would think they go, oh my God, this is horrible, we got to look at them all. No, they can say, you haven't shown us enough to materially change the outcome of the election. Therefore, I want to tell you something that's going to shock you. It's not about fraud. It's about maladministration. They followed no rules. And under maladministration, you can go from MAGA to lava. Let America vote again. And when we vote again, we now know what we're looking for. But that there is a precedent for that. And I think it was 2020 governor's race or mayor race in New York. I can't remember. They found the machines were loaded with 135,000 ballots in them. Oops, it was an accident. They were test ballots. But they had the real candidates on them. But it was Democrats running against each other, so they fought about it. They redid that election in 45 days.
Jovan, really quickly, I just want to say, thank you again for everything you've done today. Everybody, give him a round of applause again for all the hard work that he's done.